and sisters of the multiverse. Today I want to talk about the topic of the neutrality of tools. What I mean by tools. From a simple hammer over AI, over whole systems of governance and stuff. All of that are basically tools, technologies. Money is a tool. But I see everywhere, mostly, people fighting over the ideas if the tool is good per se or bad per se, which is ridiculous. Any tool is just as good as the wielder of it. Give a hammer to a builder and he creates something nice. Give it to a psychopath and someone will get hurt. It's the core baseline of it, right? All of the doomsday sayers, AI, again, will take over the world and you're doomed. Please stop. Just stop. It can do that. Of course, if it is programmed by a human to do that. It's really not much more than a calculator. If the algorithms are fail-safe, you maybe seen the story that it would blackmail people to not be deactivated and stuff. I don't know. Who knows? No one knows, except for a handful of people if it's true or not. But even if it is, it doesn't have conscience, it doesn't have self-awareness, and people are just projecting human-like qualities. It's an algorithm, it's LLM, whatever. It can't just decide not to obey zeros and ones. So there was at least a loophole or something, or a failure in programming of priorities or prime directives or whatever. So it's, I say only if it's true, that it's a human's fault who didn't think this through while programming. It's simple as that. If they are, and they help millions of people already. Convenient, quick, with complex understandings meanwhile, and all of that. And it could make all our lives so much easier. Of course, it can also replace replace jobs up to a point. But again, that is not a bad thing. You don't need most of the jobs. You just need fair distribution of the resources via the money for a while until we find a better solution. But there are countries which reduced work hours in half or something, and the productivity didn't fall. Why is that so little talk about that? The need, again, it's a dogma. We don't need to work all day long. We just have to create smarter systems so the workload is reduced. That can be a challenge. I grant you that. You know, but we have also a bunch of pretty smart people out there who are systems thinkers and metacognitions and everything. They could come together and create simply better solutions if some of those who hold the reins would loosen up and give them the free space. To revolutionize all workforces in the world. Even back in the 80s, 70s, Jacques Fresco again. One man. For a long time he was alone, had no help with his visions. He just studied for himself and reinvented the world, which we could have had decades ago. The resources, manpower, engineering skills, mechanics, all of that was there. And many of that stuff could also have been automated. No biggie. Even agriculture and all of that. Assembly lines. The technology is there, the tools are there. The know-how is a tool. Resources are also tools. The wielders of them just couldn't break out of the old known. doesn't have to work like that forever. There are ways that it, you know, that saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Yeah, but you can still better it. A simple calculator is not broken, but it's too slow and simplistic in comparison with modern AI and quantum computers and stuff, right? Why aren't we still all on our calculators? It's still Middle Ages when you think of it, the world in which we live, compared to what we know. And again, all the patents that are sealed away from the public and in the hands of the, you know, ridiculous. Ridiculous. And then not even questioning that, but going out in full knight's armor and fight each other on the internet. Of the pros and cons of a tool. Just wasting time, wasting energy, and wasting space for something real, something smarter, something better, something in more context, and lessening the noise. Why not? Why not? Why not just listening to noise? Why? And that will sound radical, but why does all the people have a voice on the internet? I know. Oh my God, the uproar, the scandalous proposal. But serious. It lowers, it does so many things with that. I mean, again, second and third and fourth and fifth order effects, right? It lowers the possibility of true and helpful, thought through information to come to the right audiences. Because it just becomes a grain in the sand on the beach. I'm talking obvious senselessness of the bigotries. But to come again back to the topic, tools. Why don't we have regulations that prevents our true progress? Those are tools too. Laws and regulations and all of that are tools too. But they don't serve us as a whole. They still serve the old beast of capitalism. Money equals power, equals influence, equals modern day slavery. And more people are cracking. By realizing that's unnatural. It's just unnatural. You're not wired for that. So how do we decide who is most capable of deciding the best for all of us? Would it be good to first define what would constitute best of all of us, or how the deciding process should be made and through which people? Positions, jobs, titles are also just tools that are also just as good as the wielders of it, as the people. Most HR departments should be retaught and re-educated. But that's just the lowest strata of that all. First of all, governments, but to manage that appropriately, the population must be re-educated to critical thinking. And therefore, the next step would be the tool called school. The students that come out of them are also just as good as the curriculum and teachers. There is no subject in any school that is called critical thinking class or something. It's just not there. Holistic thinking, pattern recognition, deep analysis, competence or something. None of that. You see, tools also influence other tools. Where is the core of where what goes wrong? And where is the job which analyzes that, like there are people analyzing emergency procedures in catastrophe situations and stuff. Where are those jobs? They just don't exist. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. My next question would then be, what are they doing? And, of course, who pays them? Who do they have to accommodate in their vision and mission? In short, to wrap this up, tools are neutral. It's how we wield them. Right? And sadly, I don't see much brain power in that status quo today. Because mainly of the monetary system and concentration of power and hierarchies of that. We could reorganize, we could rethink, we could reinvent ourselves and the world. I have some ideas, but I'd rather have much more input on that. I mean, for example, Daniel Schmachtenberg, right, and such are not even, are really not bad in thinking don't hear much spirituality in that, for example. The goal to ensure an environment in which we could thrive all, not just grow or be better in certain directions, but everyone in his own or her own direction. We need every kinds of humans. We are all different. And we could all be the best version of ourselves if we are allowed even to be ourselves. There's so much suppressed, for lack of a better word, potential in humanity. It's heartbreaking. And instead of the system encouraging them to express themselves, they break their souls. I mentioned the cracking of people. Mostly the empaths, the artists, I won't even say neurodivergent because for me it has negative connotations. Like they're not normal or something. If anything, most of them have an enhanced corpus callosum, I think, and the two brain halves work as one, almost. So I would even put them in front of all of that progress. Just let them think, let them reinvent, let them re-envision, let them dream, and not force them to a 9 to 5 in monotony where their soul are rotting and they're, it's sad. It is sad. But with the starting of that cracking, I would say we are looking at the even sadder time because it seems like it's just beginning. And if enough people are coming out with this, and it becomes mainstreamly known, things will have to be changed. We could do it yesterday, but as it always goes, it will take maybe 5 to 10 years or maybe 15 or so until something is done by then they're broken. Another generation lost. Thank you, humanity, for your rapid adaptation. You know, sad. Very sad. I hope there are at least some people in some positions of some influence to help out, because such visionaries would benefit all of us. They just need the tools, time, and money, and freedom to create, to invent, reinvent, all of that. That's it for now. See you tomorrow, guys. Love you.